All right, guys, the new patch 2.2b is coming out very, very soon. So we're going to do a brief overview of what the new changes are for the balanced notes, because a lot of ADCs did get changed and buffed. So I thought I should come on here and give my thoughts. So we're going to be getting the new champs. We're going to get Rengar and Kha'Zix, which is pretty cool. Those are going to be two new junglers. I really would want to see some more ADCs come. There's going to be more skins, which is pretty cool. I don't really play any of these, so I'm not going to really get any of these skins, but we're also getting new PFPs, emotes, and things like that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so there's going to be an event for the new champions, but not really anything important. So let's get into the champion changes. Darius, oh my god, thank god he's getting a nerf. So they're nerfing his base stats from 650 HP to 610, which will make him a little bit easier to kill, and also his base health regen from 9 to 7, which I think is actually great changes. Sometimes it feels so hard to kill Darius, and I think with this, it'll make it possible from even behind you could actually kill him. Because if you're going against a really fed Darius, it feels almost impossible to kill him at times. So I really like this change. I really do like this change. Now on to Draven. I'm actually surprised Draven did get a nerf, because honestly, I don't really see Draven getting played much in general because he's such a high skill cap champ. Like, for example, I don't even play him because I feel like, I don't know, I'm just not really that good with him. And honestly, maybe I should just take a day, play Draven a bunch, and try to get a gameplay. But they're nerfing his spinning axe, which is, I mean, his main source of damage, to be honest. They're nerfing it by 10 in the early game, which I think is a decent change because Draven is just so strong in the early game. I mean, if you're playing Ezreal and you get hit by Draven once, you lose 25% of your HP, which is pretty big. So now you actually have a chance to make plays against Draven. But it's not enough. It's not enough of a change to make Draven terrible. Draven will still be a powerhouse in the early game, which is great. But yeah, sometimes when I play against Dravens, I just get destroyed. So it's a decent change. It's a decent change. Definitely caught me off guard. Evelynn. This is interesting, right? I mean, I know that Evelynn needed a nerf, and I'm so glad she's getting a nerf, but I guess they're nerfing her ult cooldown, which means it's 20 more seconds on the first, and then 15 seconds in the second, and 70 seconds towards the end. So, I mean, it's a pretty good change. I mean, I'm thinking early game, right? One nice thing is if Evelynn needs to be very smart with her ultimate, because it's on a 2-minute cooldown. So if she misplays it, she won't have it for a very long time, which is actually pretty good. I'm not sure if this is enough though, because I personally feel like people just do not know how to play against invisible champions. So I mean, this is a great step in the right direction because the ult is pretty annoying, so I'm glad about that. Galio is a little interesting here. So they nerfed Galio last patch. I mean, he was super OP, so they nerfed him kind of into the ground a little bit. So looks like they're buffing his health a little bit, his base stats. They're also buffing his passive, so it can come up a little bit faster, which is decent. But here's what's interesting. On skill 1, okay, the skill that does a lot of damage, they're actually bug fixing an issue where Galio's skill 1 was actually doing its initial damage twice. And actually, I feel like I've been in scenarios where Galio used the skill 1 on me, and it just did so much damage, more than it should have. And they're also changing the health damage per AP ratio from 1.5% to 2%, which is great. So that's actually going to be a big nerf. I think this bug fix that they're doing will be a big nerf to the skill 1 damage. Katarina, thank god they're finally doing something about Katarina, but I'm not really sure if it's enough to really change much. But with the passive, they are nerfing it from 72 to 240 to 62 to 230, which I guess makes her a little bit weaker in the early game laning phase. They're also nerfing her Shun Po, which is her dash ability, from the range 6.5 to 6, which is actually pretty good range. But I feel like she will still be OP, especially with Katarina one trickers. They're still going to be really good. I guess it makes her a little bit weaker in the early game, but I think they need to do something with the blades themselves because they do a lot of damage, and plus it's so easy for Katarina to pick up the blades and also get a reset. So we all have to see how this plays out. Thank God she's getting a little bit of a nerf to her actual stats, but I don't think it will be enough, but we'll have to see. Leona, guys, Leona is getting a buff. I mean, I'm pretty sure she got a buff before as well. So it'll interesting to see how well she plays. So with her base stats, they're actually buffing her base health regen from 7.5 to 9, which is actually pretty significant. I felt like Leona was a terrible laner, support. And I think this will give her a chance to heal up a little more in the lane, especially from getting poked down because she has to engage. Her sunlight damage passive is getting increased from 25 to 137 to 33 to 145, which is pretty good. But I mean, she's a support, so that doesn't matter necessarily, but also helps with the burst up front. The Zenith Blade is what she uses to engage, which is great. They're increasing the range from 7 to 7.5, which is great. It gives her an easier chance of actually making an engage in the dragon lane, because when you're against a Leona, I feel like it's so hard for Leona to really engage. Teemo's not really getting changed. They're just bug fixing something that was going on with his camouflage, so that is what it is. Ziggs is one of the best mid laners in competitive and high elo games. So what they're doing is they're nerfing the bouncing bombs cooldown. So they're making it a little bit longer in the early game, but towards the end, once you max out your ability, or even right before you max out your ability at level 7, you're going to have the same cooldown as you did before. So I don't think this is the best nerf, but I guess it basically makes his early game laning phase a little weaker. He has to be a little smarter with his bombs, because you are getting a 1.5 second increase level 1. So you can't really spam those bombs too often. All right, guys, now we're getting in the ADC changes. I'm super excited about this. All right, the duo lane meta is close to being very healthy. We're taking this opportunity to buff the slightly underperforming duo carry champs to help them catch up. All right, Ashe. What they're doing with Ashe is so volley, which is her skill 2, which basically sends out a bunch of arrows, is getting a reduced cooldown. So it's basically useless, guys. I mean, this isn't really a good change. I don't think it'll make her any differently. So I mean, I think Ashe is still decent in low elo, like silver, gold, max. You don't want to be playing her in plat or emerald or even higher. She's really weak, doesn't really do much. So this isn't a good enough change for Ashe. I think they need to give her more AD or something like that, or make her skill 1 do more damage. It just feels like she doesn't do much. So that change is kind of useless, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Tristana has been getting buffs. But the one thing I always thought she needed was her explosive charge to be increased in damage, and they're finally doing that. So I think Tristana could finally actually be meta. So the explosive charge is getting a buff in its damage. Basically, once you have it maxed out, it gives you 20 more damage. So you're going from 110 to 130, and in the beginning of the game, you're going from 65 to 70. So it's pretty decent. It ramps up really fast when you're upgrading it. So I mean, maybe at level 4 you will be super strong. You'll actually be really strong with 90 base damage on that explosive charge, which is pretty good. So her buster shot is also getting a damage increase pretty significantly, 50 more damage. So you're going to go from 300 to 350, 400 to 450, and 500 to 550, which is pretty good. I'm going to be doing, by the way, videos on the new buffs for these ADCs, so we can really get to see a look. Varus. Now, I've actually been playing Varus before they released these patch notes, trying to learn him, see if he could actually be viable. And on this current patch, on the 2.2a, it just feels like it's very hard for him to get his combos off. And even when he does his combos, it doesn't really do much damage. So it really sucks, but now he's getting this is actually a pretty good buff. So they're buffing his base stats when it comes to his mana, which is great. He kind of burns through his mana a little bit quick. So the 345 to 390 is great. And the Blighted Quiver, which is the skill 2, which basically gives you that missing health damage, they're increasing that, which actually, so if you get the 3 marks on him, use your skill 2 and use your skill 1, you'll actually do a bunch of damage with this new with this buff to the missing health, which is really great. So at level 1, you're going to go from 6.5 to 9.75, which is now 6.5 to 13%. That is ridiculous. 13%. Oh my god, that is ridiculous. Level 15, it goes from 13.5 to 20.25. Now it goes from 13.5 to 27%. That is ridiculous. 27% of your HP. That's 1/4 of your HP, guys, which is ridiculous. So we're going to be doing a video on him as well, guys. So Vayne is getting a buff on her ultimate. It's not really going to change much here because she's so weak that even when you get your ultimate, I guess this is a great buff to her ultimate. I think it definitely will make her a lot stronger, but it's still, you're still gonna have the problem in the early game laning phase, but we'll have to test this out. We'll have to test this out because if you just farm up to get your ultimate, use your ultimate, it could be pretty good. And I always feel like the ultimate's always on cooldown, so them reducing the cooldown of the ultimate feels great. So I'm really excited about this. Okay, Xayah I feel like is so strong. Them buffing her doesn't make any sense. So with her W, the mana usage for it is just they buffed it, so it goes from 60 to 50, and the cooldown is getting reduced by a bit as well, by a second, which is pretty good. That ability is her main source of damage, to be honest, especially when you're going on an all-in. Now the Blade Caller, the root duration is now going from 1 to 1.25, which is crazy, guys. This is actually crazy. That's going to make her a lot stronger than she already is right now. I guess if you really land the Blade Caller, it's going to be more destructive than before. You could set up more plays now. I guess it's a decent change, but we'll have to see how this goes for Xayah. Will it make her the best ADC? Not sure, but it's definitely a pretty crazy buff that she's getting. Now for the item changes, I'm not really support here, but we'll just take a quick look. The Ardent Sensor is basically getting a nerf. They're increasing the gold it takes to purchase it, and the Harmonic Echo is getting changed. They're nerfing how much gold it costs, so it's going from it costs 100 gold more, and the ability power is getting nerfed as well. So this will be a nerf to you know, the supports that have to use their abilities, enchanters basically, like Janna, Lulu, Seraphine, people that build Harmonic Echo in general. Rune changes, Conquer, you know, they're always nerfing Conquer. It's always interesting to see. So they're nerfing how long you actually can have the stacks, which I guess it makes sense. I think they gotta just add more runes in general because they're just nerfing Conqueror. So if they make it so there's more runes that you could go, it would be better than just consistently nerfing Conqueror, because the problem is a lot of AP champs run Conqueror and they just have to run Conqueror because there's no other better runes to run. So they're just going to consistently nerf Conqueror, which it is what it is, but I think it will be all right. Spell changes. This is a huge spell change. They're making it so the barrier is on a longer cooldown, which I think is great. You get barrier way too quick. It gives you way too much value. So now I think it's in a decent spot, actually. I think it's in a really decent spot. Barrier is really oppressive, and it makes ADC champions really hard to gank by the jungler because barrier can soak up a decent amount of damage, and it feels like it's always up. So yeah, that will be interesting to see how that goes. I think ADCs need to be a lot safer now, especially with this change. Game system changes. Thank God they're nerfing this. They're basically nerfing Infernal Dragon and Cloud Dragon are way too broken compared to the other dragons. I feel like once they have the dragon, the game feels kind of over. So Infernal Dragon's going from 8% to 6%, which is decent. I'm not even gonna go over that. Like the Elder Infernal is basically getting this getting nerfed as well from 12% to 9%. The damage bonus per stack 4% to 3%, which is great. But basically, if you lose that, if the enemy team gets the Elder Dragon, you're gonna lose the game anyways. So that's why these nerfs to the Elder Dragons doesn't really matter, because you're still gonna lose. But it's still great to see Infernal Dragon getting nerfed. Cloud Dragon is also getting nerfed with its Elder Cloud Dragon. They're nerfing the amount of movement speed you get, which is fantastic. But like I said, if the enemy team gets Elder Dragon, you're probably gonna lose the game anyways. So unless you got inhibs taken down. And then here are the free champion rotations. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys did enjoy this Wild Rift patch notes breakdown. If you want to see more of these type of breakdowns for the future patches, let me know. But Guys, let me know what you guys want to see, because Tristana's getting a buff, Varus is getting a buff, Vayne's getting a buff. I mean, Zaya got a buff. So many champs got a buff, so I definitely am going to have to try them out. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.